Hello friends. Have you ever wondered what happens when a deeply emotional, intuitive, and protective Cancer enters the competitive world of business? At first glance, this might seem like an unlikely match, a zodiac sign ruled by the moon, symbolizing nurturing, home, and emotional depth, stepping into a world driven by logic, profit, and competition. Yet, the Cancer personality brings something rare and powerful into the professional arena: an ability to humanize business, to make profit personal, and to create loyalty through empathy rather than aggression. After watching, if you'd like to support the channel, click the Thanks button right under this video or use the donation alerts link in the description. Your support really helps me keep creating. And of course, if you enjoy the content, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks so much for being here. Now let's continue. Let's explore what makes a Cancer tick in the business world, their motivations, strengths, pitfalls, and how they can transform a simple venture into something deeply meaningful. The emotional CEO, the heart at the helm. Cancer in business isn't just about making money, it's about making meaning. Imagine a leader who doesn't see profit as the end goal but as the natural byproduct of care, loyalty, and shared purpose. That's Cancer, a sign ruled by the moon, tethered to emotions, memory, and intuition. Their leadership style is more maternal than managerial. They cradle their companies as if they were living, breathing beings. To them, every employee is not just a name on a payroll but an individual with stories, fears, and dreams. This personal investment turns the office into something that feels like home, a place of emotional security where people thrive not just because they have to, but because they want to. A Cancer CEO operates on rhythm, lunar rhythm. There are moments of high creativity, followed by reflection, and then bursts of nurturing energy. They lead through feeling, sensing when their team is burned out before the first complaint arises, when morale is slipping even before productivity drops. Their intuitive understanding of human behavior allows them to anticipate challenges and soothe tensions before they become crises. They are natural empaths who build emotional infrastructure, ensuring the workplace remains a sanctuary rather than a battlefield. Picture a Cancer executive walking through the office. They notice small details others overlook: the tired look in an assistant's eyes, the hesitation in a manager's voice during a meeting, the quiet tension between team members. While others might dismiss these as trivial, the Cancer CEO recognizes them as early warnings of emotional imbalance that could affect performance. Instead of calling a formal meeting, they invite the person for coffee, listen deeply, and somehow, without grand speeches, restore balance. It's subtle leadership, quiet yet profoundly effective. They are also the masters of creating culture, the kind of culture that people don't just participate in but identify with. Their companies often have a soul, a shared ethos centered on compassion, mutual respect, and loyalty. It's not unusual for employees to describe working under a Cancer boss as being part of a family. There are shared traditions, personal touches in corporate rituals, and celebrations that genuinely matter. When someone has a child, the Cancer leader sends gifts. When someone is ill, they organize support. Their empathy doesn't end when the clock does. Yet, this emotional depth can be both their strength and their Achilles heel. Their heart governs their business decisions, and while this creates loyalty, it can also lead to overprotection. Cancer leaders may hesitate to fire underperforming employees because they care too deeply. They can hold on to outdated systems out of nostalgia or avoid necessary confrontations for fear of hurting someone's feelings. In a competitive landscape, this can slow progress, but it also preserves humanity in a world that often forgets it. Their business meetings are rarely about numbers alone. For Cancer, the story behind the numbers matters. They'll ask questions like, "How did the team feel about this change?" or "What's the emotional takeaway from this project?" While some executives might roll their eyes, this approach often uncovers deeper issues: morale dips, communication breakdowns, unspoken resentments that, when resolved, lead to real, sustainable growth. A Cancer CEO is deeply loyal to their mission. They build businesses not as short-term ventures but as lifelong commitments. Their companies often bear their emotional signature, a kind of invisible warmth that customers can feel. You'll notice it in brands that make you nostalgic, that comfort you, that seem to understand you. Behind many of those is a Cancer mind that knew business could be a form of care. In times of crisis, their leadership shines the brightest. When chaos hits, where others panic or detach, Cancer anchors. They step into protector mode, shielding their team, reassuring their clients, making sure no one feels abandoned. They'll work late nights not to save face, but to save people. Their resilience isn't fiery or loud, it's tidal, an unrelenting emotional current that refuses to give up. They're also visionaries, though not in the flashy, Silicon Valley sense. Their visions grow from empathy. They sense unmet human needs, emotional voids, and build businesses to fill them. A Cancer entrepreneur might create a wellness startup that helps people heal from burnout, or a financial service that treats customers like family instead of accounts. Their innovation is emotional. They invent comfort, trust, and belonging as marketable commodities. But there's a shadow side. Their moodiness can ripple through their companies. When they're anxious, the entire office feels it. When they withdraw into their shell, communication slows. Cancer must learn emotional regulation not just for themselves but for everyone depending on their energy. A moody leader can unintentionally create confusion, while a balanced Cancer can inspire fierce loyalty. They often have trouble separating personal and professional boundaries. Their company can feel like an extension of their home, and their home becomes an extension of their company. They'll call employees family, which feels warm, but can blur lines when tough business decisions must be made. If they learn to blend compassion with clarity, they become unstoppable, both nurturing and commanding respect. Cancer's emotional intelligence also gives them exceptional negotiation skills. They read tone, micro-expressions, and energy shifts that others miss. While a competitor focuses on price or position, Cancer quietly reads intention. They can tell when someone's bluffing or when a deal feels off, even if all the paperwork looks perfect. This sixth sense is their silent superpower in boardrooms. They thrive in industries that require emotional resonance: hospitality, health, education, wellness, creative arts, and even finance when it's human-centered. They lead not from the head but from the heart, which allows them to create sustainable, ethical businesses that stand the test of time. They don't chase trends, they create traditions. Even their failures carry grace. When a Cancer's business struggles, they take responsibility with humility, often worrying more about how others will be affected than about their own losses. They rebuild not from anger but from care, a rare trait in the ruthless corporate world. Their comebacks are quiet but profound, built on relationships rather than revenge. The Cancer CEO's leadership style also transforms workplace dynamics. Instead of fostering competition, they cultivate collaboration. They encourage emotional honesty, making it safe for employees to speak up without fear. This open environment fuels creativity and reduces burnout. Employees feel seen, not as resources, but as humans. That's why turnover rates under Cancer leaders are often low. People don't leave families that care for them. Their company values often echo their personal values: family, loyalty, security, and integrity. Even when their business scales globally, they maintain the feeling of closeness. Their headquarters might look corporate, but the energy inside feels like a community center. There's laughter, warmth, and often the faint smell of coffee shared over personal stories. Cancer's connection to memory also plays a huge role in their brand storytelling. They understand nostalgia's power in marketing, the emotional pull of remembering simpler, safer times. Their campaigns don't shout, they whisper. They make customers feel understood. They evoke feelings like home, comfort, or belonging. And in a marketplace that's oversaturated with noise, that emotional subtlety is magnetic. They value consistency over flash. You won't see them chasing viral trends or sacrificing authenticity for attention. They understand that emotional trust takes time to build and seconds to destroy. That's why their brands are steady, reliable, and quietly influential, like the tide, moving without fanfare but shaping the entire shore. However, their leadership can become suffocating if they cling too tightly. Their need to protect can become control. They must learn that true care sometimes means letting go, allowing employees to make mistakes, partners to lead, and their businesses to evolve beyond their direct nurturing. Once they master this balance between holding and releasing, they transition from caretakers to visionaries. Ultimately, a Cancer CEO proves that leadership doesn't need to be ruthless to be powerful. Their approach reminds the business world that empathy is not weakness but wisdom. They redefine success as something more than numbers, as legacy, emotional safety, and impact. They teach us that companies can have souls and that profits can coexist with kindness. In a world that often rewards cold ambition, the Cancer at the helm offers warmth. They lead with heart, guided by intuition, anchored by loyalty, and protected by an invisible shell that holds both tenderness and strength. Under their leadership, businesses don't just grow, they bloom. Intuitive strategy, when instinct becomes the business plan. In the analytical, number-driven arena of modern business, where algorithms dictate decisions and datasets are worshipped like sacred texts, Cancer walks in with something far more ancient and mysterious: instinct. To them, spreadsheets whisper possibilities, but their own gut shouts the truth. Their business compass doesn't spin toward metrics or trend reports. It points inward, guided by emotion, rhythm, and subtle energetic shifts that others can't even register. It's as if they have an internal sonar tuned to human behavior, an invisible map of moods, desires, and unspoken needs. This instinct is not a reckless leap into the unknown. It's a refined sensitivity developed through years of observation and emotional listening. Cancers absorb everything: tone, body language, atmosphere. When they make a business move, it isn't guesswork. It's a synthesis of 1,000 tiny signals that their subconscious has already processed. To watch a Cancer entrepreneur work is to see intuition in motion. They pause before responding to a proposal, feel the air, sense the pulse of the moment, and then deliver an answer that somehow feels inevitable, as though the universe itself whispered it to them. Their decision-making often confounds analysts. A Cancer CEO might pivot a marketing strategy not because the metrics demand it, but because something feels off. Weeks later, data catches up, revealing that market sentiment had indeed shifted. They knew it before the reports did. This ability is not mystical in the fantasy sense. It's the art of emotional pattern recognition. Cancers intuitively read collective energy like seasoned traders read market charts. They sense when the public's mood is softening, when people crave comfort over novelty, when nostalgia is about to become profitable again. Many successful Cancer-led brands have mastered this emotional foresight. They create campaigns that land precisely when audiences need reassurance, not noise. Their timing feels cosmic, as though they can predict when the world collectively exhales and needs a reminder that it's okay to feel. These are the businesses that reintroduce cozy traditions after waves of chaos, that sell calm when the world sells chaos. A Cancer strategist knows that in every storm, people search for the emotional equivalent of home, and they offer it. This emotional intelligence is their version of analytics. Where others see numbers, Cancer sees feelings in motion. They look at customer feedback not as data points but as stories. They notice not only what people buy but why they buy it: loneliness, hope, fear, comfort, belonging. They turn psychology into profit without cynicism, because they genuinely understand what drives people. They sell security in uncertain times and sentiment in sterile markets. Their products might be tangible, but what they are truly offering is emotional equilibrium. Yet, this instinctive brilliance carries risk. Because they feel so deeply, Cancers sometimes confuse their emotional perception with universal truth. Their inner voice is powerful but not infallible. A Cancer might ignore a clear red flag because it conflicts with their gut feeling, or they might stay loyal to a failing product because of sentimental attachment. Emotional bias can lead them to defend poor choices longer than logic would allow. When unchecked, their intuition can become a comforting illusion, an echo chamber of feelings mistaken for foresight. The secret to mastering their gift lies in balance. The most successful Cancer entrepreneurs are those who learn to treat data not as an enemy but as a translator of intuition. They use analytics to confirm what their hearts already know. They understand that instinct starts the fire, but evidence keeps it burning. Their best business decisions are a fusion of emotion and verification, an artful dance between gut and graph. Consider how they innovate. A Cancer rarely follows a standard innovation pipeline. Instead, they feel into an idea. They sense cultural fatigue and birth something emotionally restorative. When the tech industry over-rationalizes, Cancer introduces humanity back into the conversation. When marketing grows cold and clinical, they reignite warmth and storytelling. They restore the emotional temperature of business ecosystems, like lunar tides cooling the overheated day. In negotiations, their intuitive radar becomes a weapon. They can sense hesitation behind a smile, insecurity beneath confidence, deception under charm. Without confrontation, they redirect the conversation, disarm opponents with empathy, and seal deals not through aggression but through subtle emotional calibration. They win not by overpowering but by understanding. Even in hiring, their instincts rarely fail. They can spot sincerity in seconds, sense hidden potential, or detect toxicity long before it surfaces. This makes their teams unusually cohesive, bound by shared emotional intelligence rather than mechanical efficiency. They know who fits not just by skill but by energy. They build companies like families, choosing personalities that harmonize rather than clash. Their creativity thrives under the same emotional logic. When others brainstorm with post-it notes and flowcharts, Cancer listens inward. Their ideas arrive in waves, a sudden knowing, an emotional download that feels as if it came from beyond logic. These flashes of insight often become their most successful ventures because they're born from empathy rather than ego. Their marketing isn't manipulative, it's intuitive storytelling that touches universal human chords. Cancer's intuitive strategy also reveals itself in how they handle timing, an overlooked yet crucial element in business success. They seem to know when to act and when to wait. They don't rush, but they don't hesitate either. They move when the emotional current supports them. Like tides responding to the moon, they launch products when collective energy feels receptive, pause projects when the mood turns, and restart just as anticipation peaks. To outsiders, it looks like luck. To Cancer, it's lunar rhythm in business form. But when fear clouds their intuition, everything shifts. Doubt is their kryptonite. If they lose emotional confidence, they may misinterpret signals, overthink, or retreat. The challenge is to trust their gift without being consumed by it, to use feeling as a compass, not a cage. Successful Cancers learn to step back, breathe, and allow reason to check intuition's direction. At their best, they are emotional futurists. They don't just follow data, they feel the future. They understand that behind every market trend lies a collective yearning for connection, simplicity, belonging. They tap into that longing and turn it into tangible offerings. Their success stories often seem impossible to replicate because their method isn't written in any manual, it's written in their hearts. To be a Cancer in business is to navigate invisible tides. Their strategy flows between the rational and the intuitive, between the measurable and the felt. They teach the corporate world that not all intelligence is intellectual. Some of it lives in the gut, in empathy, in emotional resonance. They remind us that data might tell us what people do, but only intuition can reveal why. Their businesses are proof that numbers don't inspire loyalty, feelings do. Customers don't return for efficiency, they return for the sense of being understood. Cancer's intuitive strategy makes commerce personal again. In an era obsessed with algorithms, they reintroduce the ancient wisdom of the heart as a legitimate business model, and somehow, it works. When instinct becomes the business plan, success ceases to be mechanical and becomes meaningful. For Cancer, every decision is an emotional equation, every risk a conversation with the universe, every victory a validation that sometimes, the softest voice in the room, the one inside you, knows best. The homegrown entrepreneur, building from the heart outward. A Cancer entrepreneur rarely dreams of skyscrapers and boardrooms. Their empire begins in the humblest of places, the quiet hum of a kitchen mixer, the corner of a sunlit room, a late-night brainstorm at the dining table surrounded by family. For them, business isn't a cold pursuit of profit. It's an extension of the soul, a labor of love born from care and memory. They don't start businesses, they nurture them, like gardens. Each decision, each product, each message carries the scent of authenticity and emotional craftsmanship. They are home builders in every sense. For Cancer, home is not just a location but a feeling: safety, belonging, warmth, and understanding. When they create something, that essence becomes woven into its fabric. Their bakery isn't just a bakery, it's the smell of childhood mornings and the laughter of shared stories. Their handmade brand isn't about objects, it's about the energy of patience and love behind every stitch. Cancer doesn't sell products, they sell comfort. They don't market to customers, they welcome guests. Every purchase from a Cancer-run business feels like being invited to their table. Their companies often begin quietly, without fanfare or heavy investors. A Cancer prefers to grow organically, letting success unfold naturally, much like a plant finding its way toward the sun. They're not gamblers chasing fast returns, they're steady cultivators of trust and reputation. They take the time to understand their market deeply, feeling into what people need rather than imposing what they want to sell. Their growth is personal, authentic, and deeply human. In a world obsessed with scale, Cancer reminds us that depth can be more powerful than size. Their greatest gift in entrepreneurship is emotional branding. Where others speak in slogans, they speak in stories. Their tone is warm, familiar, reassuring. It evokes nostalgia rather than novelty. Their visuals are inviting, their messages inclusive, their mission heartfelt. Customers don't just buy from them, they bond with them. This emotional magnetism makes even a small Cancer-run business feel like a trusted local treasure. They can take something as ordinary as soap, candles, or pastries and infuse it with meaning. Their brand becomes a safe space in a chaotic world. Behind every Cancer entrepreneur, there's a personal story, one of healing, inspiration, or resilience. They often start their ventures after a transformative life event, the loss of someone dear, a desire to create stability for family, or the yearning to make the world feel a bit more like home. These emotional origins give their businesses soul. You can feel it in every detail: the handwritten thank you notes, the carefully chosen packaging, the personal touch in every interaction. Their audience senses that authenticity and responds with fierce loyalty. Cancers build communities, not customer bases. Their social media pages feel like gathering spaces, filled with warmth, connection, and conversation. They know their followers by name, remember returning clients, and treat each person as part of their extended family. This emotional intimacy transforms their customer relationships into long-term friendships. It's why so many Cancer entrepreneurs thrive through word of mouth, because people don't just recommend their products, they recommend them. But this closeness comes with a challenge. Cancer's instinct to protect what they've built can easily become possessiveness. Their business is their baby, and they guard it fiercely. Delegating can feel like betrayal. They may struggle to hire or outsource because no one can possibly love their creation as much as they do. As their ventures grow, this resistance can create bottlenecks. They may find themselves overworked, exhausted, or unable to expand because they refuse to loosen their emotional grip. For Cancer, learning to trust others with their vision is not just a managerial skill, it's an act of emotional courage. This attachment extends beyond control. It's about fear of losing the intimacy that defines their brand. Cancer worries that expansion might dilute the personal essence that made their business special. They fear that scaling up means losing touch, that automation and systems could strip away the warmth of human connection. It takes time for them to realize that growth doesn't have to mean detachment. With the right team, their emotional values can multiply rather than fade. When they do find the courage to delegate, something beautiful happens. Their leadership evolves from caretaker to cultivator. They begin to see that others can carry their emotional vision, often enhancing it in unexpected ways. The Cancer entrepreneur becomes a mentor, teaching their team not just what to do but how to feel the brand. This emotional apprenticeship creates a ripple effect. even as the company expands, it retains that same sense of sincerity and belonging. Cancer's preference for slow, steady growth may seem old-fashioned in an age of instant gratification, but it's precisely what makes their ventures sustainable. They don't burn out from overscaling or implode from overinvestment. Their businesses age gracefully, like good wine, growing richer with time. They might take years to bloom, but when they do, they stand on unshakable emotional foundations. They build legacies, not startups. Financially, Cancer entrepreneurs are prudent. They avoid reckless spending, preferring to reinvest profits into stability. Their approach to money is deeply tied to emotional security. They want to feel safe, and they want their business to feel safe too. They won't risk the home they've built on speculative ventures, but they will invest generously in quality, ethics, and people. Their budgeting is guided by care rather than fear. They see every dollar as a seed of trust. Their marketing approach is instinctive and relational. They don't chase trends, they create resonance. While others obsess over algorithms, Cancer focuses on emotion. They tell stories that remind people of family, comfort, and continuity. Their advertisements feel like heartfelt conversations rather than sales pitches. You don't feel sold to, you feel understood. This emotional resonance often results in higher loyalty and organic growth, proving that connection outperforms coercion. Cancers also have an almost magical ability to turn ordinary spaces into emotional sanctuaries. Step into their cafe, and it feels like a hug. Walk through their boutique, and you'll sense the calm of home. Their attention to ambiance is instinctual. They know how to design spaces that evoke peace. Lighting, scent, sound, every detail is curated to make people feel safe. They understand that atmosphere sells as much as product, that customers return not just for what they buy, but for how they feel when they buy it. Their commitment to ethics and empathy is unwavering. Cancer refuses to cut corners if it compromises integrity. They often support local suppliers, fair trade practices, or eco-friendly materials because caring for others, including the planet, aligns with their emotional DNA. Their sense of responsibility makes them beloved not just as business owners, but as pillars of their communities. People trust them because they mean what they say. However, their emotional involvement can also make failure feel devastating. When a Cancer's business falters, it feels personal, as if a piece of their heart has broken. They don't see losses in numbers, they see faces, memories, and effort. Yet, from this pain often comes reinvention. Cancer's resilience lies in their ability to rebuild from emotion, not despite it. They mourn, learn, and then rebuild with even deeper authenticity. Their setbacks become stories of transformation, inspiring those around them. At their core, Cancer entrepreneurs are emotional architects. They don't construct businesses for prestige, they construct sanctuaries. Their ventures serve as reflections of who they are, compassionate, protective, and nurturing. Their success proves that softness has power, that empathy has structure, and that a business can be both profitable and profoundly human. In an age where brands chase virality, Cancer teaches the quiet strength of sincerity. They show that growth rooted in care endures, that intimacy scales when built with intention, and that the most successful businesses don't start with a pitch deck, they start with a heartbeat. Cancer's homegrown empire might begin in a kitchen or a garage, but it grows into something timeless. A brand that feels like family, a company that feels like care, and a legacy that feels like home. The financial moon, money as emotional security. For Cancer, money has never been just about numbers in a bank account or the thrill of accumulation. It's the warm light that keeps the house glowing at night, the invisible reassurance that tomorrow will still be safe, the quiet hum of emotional stability that lets them exhale. Money, for this lunar sign, is emotional oxygen, a tangible form of protection and peace. It represents more than wealth, it represents safety from the chaos of uncertainty. They treat every dollar with reverence because it carries meaning far beyond its material value. Cancer is the type to track expenses meticulously, not out of greed, but out of care, like tending to a garden. Their wallet is not a vault, it's a nest. Every savings account, every insurance plan, every conservative investment is a layer of emotional insulation against life's storms. To others, their caution might seem excessive, but to Cancer, it's sacred maintenance, a way of preserving the emotional warmth of their world. When a Cancer entrepreneur earns their first significant profit, their instinct isn't to boast, it's to protect. They'll reinvest quietly, paying off debts, securing their home, ensuring their employees' salaries, and storing away for the inevitable rainy day. Flashy cars, extravagant parties, and showy displays of success hold little allure. Security and peace, however, those are priceless. They understand that financial safety allows creative freedom, and without that safety, even the grandest ambitions lose their glow. But just as the moon waxes and wanes, so does Cancer's relationship with money. It's not linear, it's tidal. Their emotions rise and fall in rhythm with their sense of stability. When they feel confident and loved, abundance flows easily. They give generously, to family, employees, charities, and causes that tug at their hearts. Their generosity isn't performative, it's nurturing. They donate anonymously, quietly supporting a friend's dream or funding community projects without ever seeking credit. They see giving not as loss but as emotional investment in others' well-being. Yet, when insecurity creeps in, whether from external stress, economic downturn, or personal doubt, their protective instincts turn inward. Cancer begins to clutch, to hold tight, to save beyond reason. Their generosity shrinks as fear whispers of scarcity. The same emotions that once fueled their kindness now breed caution. They may become controlling with budgets, second-guessing every expenditure, hoarding instead of circulating. In these moments, money becomes not freedom but fortress, and though it keeps danger out, it also keeps joy from coming in. Cancer's challenge, then, is balance. They must learn that true financial stability isn't about how much they store, but how calmly they can let money flow. It's an emotional tide. If they cling too tightly, it stagnates. If they trust the rhythm, it renews. Their emotional health and financial health are intimately intertwined. When they feel safe in themselves, abundance finds them. When they feel threatened, fear repels opportunity. Their financial strategy reflects their innate sense of caretaking. They manage money like a parent manages a household, ensuring everyone's needs are met before their own indulgences. Cancer entrepreneurs pay their staff first, invest in comfort-oriented benefits, and often create company cultures rooted in fairness and emotional well-being. They see wealth as a collective resource, not a personal trophy. Their leadership in finance is maternal, protective, deliberate, and quietly powerful. In investment, they are conservative but not timid. They prefer assets that grow slowly and steadily: real estate, family businesses, ethical funds, or legacy ventures that connect to personal values. They'd rather build something meaningful over decades than gamble for quick wins. And while some may label this approach old-fashioned, it's precisely why Cancer rarely suffers catastrophic losses. Their financial intuition, the same gut feeling that guides their emotional life, warns them when something feels off. They may not articulate why, but their instincts often steer them away from bad deals long before logic catches up. They view financial planning as emotional architecture. Just as they design a home with sturdy foundations and comforting spaces, they design their finances to sustain not just survival but serenity. Their portfolios reflect their inner values: family, continuity, care. You'll rarely see a Cancer invest in something that feels cold or exploitative. Their moral compass governs their wallet. However, Cancer must guard against emotional spending. Their nurturing nature can make them prone to rescue purchases, over-gifting loved ones, over-donating to causes, or over-supporting others at their own expense. They derive deep satisfaction from giving, but if unchecked, it can lead to quiet financial depletion. They must remember that generosity without boundaries drains the very stability they seek to protect. True generosity flourishes only when self-security is intact. Money also carries memory for Cancer. Every purchase, every bill, every coin has emotional weight. They can recall the story behind their first paycheck or the humble beginnings of their first business venture. This memory-driven connection means that financial decisions are often wrapped in sentiment. They might hold on to old business models or inherited properties for nostalgia's sake, even when practicality demands change. Learning to separate emotion from economics is one of Cancer's hardest but most rewarding lessons. When they finally learn to see money not as fragile security but as living energy, everything transforms. They begin to understand that abundance isn't finite, it grows when shared wisely. Their emotional relationship with money matures into stewardship. They no longer save out of fear, they save out of love. They no longer give out of guilt, they give from fullness. This shift from protection to empowerment marks their true financial awakening. Their businesses reflect this transformation. A Cancer-led company that once operated cautiously may suddenly expand with confidence, investing in new technology or creative ventures, not recklessly, but with calm assurance. They trust that their emotional intuition, tempered now with experience, will continue to guide them wisely. Their money becomes a current of care, circulating through communities and industries like nourishment through veins. Cancer's approach to financial partnerships is also deeply personal. They choose collaborators not by status but by trust. A financial advisor must feel like family. A business partner must share their moral center. They cannot separate emotion from money because, for them, finance without feeling is soulless. When they find partners who respect their integrity, their ventures thrive, built not only on contracts but on unspoken loyalty. Their financial success stories often read like love stories, long, patient, emotionally grounded, and ultimately fulfilling. They may start small, grow slowly, but end up with empires that feel lived in and loved. Their wealth isn't cold, it has character. Their offices feel like homes, their foundations support real lives. Every dollar they earn and spend becomes a quiet testament to the idea that money, when handled with empathy, becomes more than power, it becomes protection, purpose, and peace. Cancer's emotional intelligence gives them a sixth sense about timing, too. They instinctively know when to hold and when to release. They might not follow the market's hysteria, but their calm intuition often leads them to buy low and sell high simply because they feel when something's right. Their financial rhythm mirrors the lunar cycle, patient, measured, cyclical, and deeply aligned with natural flow. Ultimately, Cancer's journey with money is a spiritual one. They begin by fearing loss, clinging to savings, and mistaking safety for control. But as they grow, they learn that true abundance isn't hoarded, it's harmonized. They realize that money, like love, must be both given and received freely. When they achieve this balance, they no longer chase wealth, they attract it. The Cancer entrepreneur's financial philosophy can be summed up in a simple truth. Money is not the goal, it's the guardian. It's not the moon itself, but the light reflecting from it, illuminating what matters most. When Cancer learns to nurture that light without smothering it, they discover that emotional security and material success are not opposites but reflections of the same tide, moving in perfect, lunar harmony. Optimal Zodiac partners for business collaboration. When it comes to collaboration, Cancer is like the emotional heartbeat of the Zodiac's business world, compassionate, perceptive, and fiercely loyal once trust is earned. But even the most intuitive leaders thrive best when paired with partners who complement their rhythm rather than compete with it. The perfect collaborator doesn't just understand Cancer's vision, they ground it, amplify it, and help it manifest in the tangible world. And among the 12 signs, 3 stand out as ideal companions in the dance of entrepreneurship: Virgo, Taurus, and Pisces. Each one brings a unique kind of magic, creating partnerships that feel less like contracts and more like symphonies of emotional intelligence, logic, and shared values. With Virgo, Cancer finds its stabilizing force, a partner who brings order to their tides. Cancer is water, Virgo is earth. Together, they create fertile ground where dreams grow roots. Virgo's practicality and precision balance Cancer's emotional idealism. While Cancer envisions, Virgo executes. Where Cancer feels the why, Virgo maps the how. Virgo sees the systems behind success, the spreadsheets, the schedules, the structure, while Cancer infuses those systems with meaning and warmth. It's the ultimate left brain, right brain partnership, where emotion and logic meet in harmony. In this duo, Cancer often plays the storyteller, brand builder, and heart of the company, while Virgo acts as the silent architect, ensuring everything runs smoothly behind the scenes. Virgo's critical eye ensures that Cancer's vision doesn't float away in sentimentality. Cancer's empathy softens Virgo's perfectionism. They balance each other in tone and tempo. When Cancer wants to pause and feel, Virgo keeps the engine running. When Virgo becomes too focused on details, Cancer reminds them of the bigger emotional purpose behind the work. Together, they create businesses that are both meaningful and efficient. Imagine a Cancer-Virgo team running a wellness brand. Cancer crafts the message of comfort and care, while Virgo manages supply chains, finances, and operations. The product isn't just beautiful, it's sustainable, practical, and heartfelt. It's an ecosystem where emotion fuels precision, and precision protects emotion. That's why when these two signs collaborate, they often create lasting brands, not fleeting ventures. Then comes Taurus, the loyal rock in Cancer's ocean. If Virgo builds order, Taurus builds trust. This partnership feels like a warm, steady heartbeat. Both value security, comfort, and beauty. They share an instinct for stability and a deep appreciation for quality, preferring craftsmanship over flash, depth over hype. Taurus provides Cancer with grounding energy, steadying their moods and fears. When Cancer's emotions fluctuate, Taurus becomes the anchor, calm, immovable, and reassuring. In return, Cancer brings Taurus something rare, emotional color. Taurus often moves through life with steady determination but can lack emotional variety. Cancer reminds them that business isn't just about predictability but about connection, about feeling. Together, they create enterprises that blend sensuality and sincerity. Picture a Cancer-Taurus partnership running a luxury home goods company. Taurus ensures durability and aesthetics, while Cancer designs the experience, the feeling of safety and warmth that customers associate with the brand. Their shared love of comfort and beauty manifests as businesses that are timeless, elegant, and emotionally grounded. They also share an appreciation for long-term goals. Neither is impulsive. Cancer's cautious approach pairs beautifully with Taurus's persistence. Both move deliberately, like gardeners tending a field. They may not make headlines for innovation, but they'll quietly dominate industries through trust and quality. Where others chase trends, Cancer and Taurus cultivate legacies. Their relationship, both emotional and professional, is built on patience, loyalty, and the mutual understanding that good things take time to grow. And then there's Pisces, the dreamer who swims beside Cancer in the boundless sea of imagination. This partnership is pure poetry in motion, emotional, intuitive, and often otherworldly in creativity. When Cancer and Pisces join forces, logic takes a backseat to intuition, and yet somehow, it works. They understand each other in silence, communicating in feelings rather than facts. Cancer provides structure and emotional grounding. Pisces brings inspiration, vision, and spiritual depth. Together, they create art that moves people, businesses that heal, and ideas that feel like they were born from the collective soul of humanity. In industries like design, art, wellness, psychology, or storytelling, this pairing is unstoppable. Both signs have an instinct for what people need on an emotional level, and they use that awareness to create offerings that touch the heart. Picture a Cancer-Pisces collaboration launching a creative agency. Pisces dreams in colors, metaphors, and moods. Cancer translates those dreams into experiences customers can actually live. They're the kind of partners who brainstorm by candlelight and turn feelings into strategy. However, because both signs are emotional, they must watch for shared tendencies toward oversensitivity or indecision. When conflict arises, it's like two waves colliding, soft yet overwhelming. But when they remember their shared purpose, to nurture, heal, and inspire, their unity becomes untouchable. Together, they create environments where creativity flows freely, where vulnerability is strength, and where empathy leads the way. These three pairings, Virgo, Taurus, and Pisces, succeed because they speak Cancer's native emotional language. They share wavelengths, not just ideas. With Virgo, the partnership becomes the marriage of intuition and intellect. With Taurus, it's the union of emotional warmth and grounded practicality. With Pisces, it's the merging of souls in pure creative synergy. In all these collaborations, Cancer is the emotional conductor, setting the tone and ensuring everyone feels safe to contribute authentically. Their nurturing nature dissolves competition, replacing it with harmony. Cancer creates workspaces where ideas are not just shared but felt. They invite their partners to bring their full selves, logic, heart, dreams, and fears, into the collaboration. This vulnerability fosters innovation, because creativity blooms where people feel emotionally secure. Ultimately, Cancer's ideal partnerships work because they transform business into a shared act of care. Virgo provides direction and efficiency, Taurus provides loyalty and strength, Pisces provides vision and magic, and Cancer weaves them all together with empathy. These unions are not about dominance or control but about completion. They prove that success in business doesn't always come from competition but from connection, from knowing that the right partnership isn't about finding someone who thinks like you, but someone who feels with you. For Cancer, collaboration is an emotional covenant. They don't just build companies, they build families of purpose. And when they find the right zodiac partners to stand beside them, their ventures stop being just businesses. They become living expressions of emotional intelligence, mutual trust, and the quiet, luminous power of shared humanity. Challenging zodiac partners, the business tides turn rough. Every tide has its storms, and even the gentle, nurturing waters of Cancer are not immune to emotional turbulence when paired with the wrong zodiac energies. In business, compatibility is not just about skill, it's about rhythm, temperament, and how each partner handles pressure, risk, and emotion. Cancer thrives in emotional connection, loyalty, and trust. They lead with empathy, not ego. But when they partner with signs who operate from impulse, detachment, or restlessness, the harmony they crave can turn into friction. These challenging collaborations, with Aries, Aquarius, and Gemini, are not doomed to fail, but they require maturity, patience, and an understanding that emotional intelligence must become the bridge between vastly different worlds. Let's begin with Aries, the fiery pioneer. Where Cancer moves cautiously, Aries charges forward headfirst. The Aries mindset is pure momentum, action before reflection, risk before reassurance. To the Ram, hesitation feels like stagnation, while to the Crab, impulsivity feels like danger. In business, this difference in pacing creates tension. Aries may see Cancer as overly emotional or hesitant, always weighing feelings before decisions. Cancer, on the other hand, may view Aries as reckless, a storm that doesn't notice the waves it creates. In meetings, Aries might push for immediate action, new projects, bold marketing campaigns, aggressive expansion, while Cancer prefers to test the waters, analyze the emotional impact, and ensure stability before diving in. To Aries, Cancer's concern for how people will feel might seem like unnecessary softness. To Cancer, Aries' drive can come across as insensitivity. Their dynamic, while volatile, holds great potential when both learn to appreciate each other's strengths. Aries can ignite Cancer's courage. They remind Cancer that safety is important, but growth requires motion. Their boldness teaches Cancer to trust themselves more, to leap when intuition says go. In turn, Cancer teaches Aries something even more powerful: the value of patience and empathy in leadership. Aries often learns, sometimes the hard way, that fire without care burns bridges. Cancer's presence grounds them, showing that sustainable success requires nurturing, not just conquest. When this duo finds balance, they become unstoppable. Aries drives, Cancer stabilizes. The key is mutual respect. If Aries learns to pause and listen, and Cancer learns to act before fear sets in, they can build dynamic businesses where vision and emotion coexist. But without that respect, they can destroy each other's rhythm, Aries running ahead, Cancer retreating into their shell. Their partnership is like a storm meeting the sea, magnificent, powerful, but needing constant awareness to avoid collision. Then there's Aquarius, the detached visionary of the zodiac. While Cancer feels deeply, Aquarius thinks abstractly. They are both intelligent and imaginative, but their emotional wiring couldn't be more different. Cancer leads from the heart. Aquarius leads from the mind. Cancer wants closeness and trust before making business moves. Aquarius wants freedom and innovation without emotional weight. This difference can create misunderstanding, not because either is wrong, but because they operate on entirely different frequencies. Aquarius can unintentionally wound Cancer's feelings with blunt logic. Their analytical style, while brilliant, often lacks the softening filter of emotional sensitivity. For instance, in a brainstorming session, Aquarius might critique Cancer's ideas with cold efficiency, unaware that their tone cuts deeper than intended. Cancer, craving emotional safety, interprets this as rejection rather than critique. Aquarius, confused by Cancer's reaction, may pull away further, valuing independence over reconciliation. However, beneath their emotional divide lies immense potential. Aquarius brings visionary thinking, ideas ahead of their time, technologies that disrupt, concepts that reshape industries. Cancer, on the other hand, ensures that those ideas actually resonate with people. Cancer humanizes Aquarius' brilliance. They take futuristic concepts and wrap them in emotion, turning cold innovation into something that touches hearts. In an ideal world, Aquarius and Cancer could build a company that's both revolutionary and relatable. Think of a tech company that's not just about gadgets, but about emotional connection, wellness, and social purpose. To achieve that, both must stretch. Cancer needs to toughen their emotional skin, understanding that Aquarius' detachment isn't cruelty, it's their way of focusing. Aquarius must learn that empathy isn't inefficiency, it's strategy. When Aquarius learns to respect Cancer's emotional insight, and Cancer accepts Aquarius' need for space, their collaboration transforms from friction to fusion. But without that awareness, their partnership becomes lonely, two geniuses speaking different languages across an emotional void. And then there's Gemini, the playful trickster of the Zodiac, charming, adaptable, and endlessly curious. At first, Cancer may find Gemini's light-hearted energy irresistible. Gemini brings excitement, new ideas, and a sense of creative movement. Their minds buzz with possibilities. But once the honeymoon phase fades, the differences emerge like cracks beneath the laughter. Gemini craves novelty and change. Cancer craves continuity and emotional security. What Gemini calls flexibility, Cancer experiences as instability. What Cancer calls loyalty, Gemini sometimes sees as emotional weight. In business, this tension often surfaces in decision-making. Gemini wants to pivot constantly, to chase new markets, switch strategies, experiment endlessly. Cancer, however, needs a steady emotional and financial foundation before taking risks. To Cancer, Gemini's restlessness feels like a lack of commitment. To Gemini, Cancer's cautious nature feels like an anchor holding them down. Gemini thrives in brainstorming sessions, but when it comes time for long-term follow-through, their energy wanes, and Cancer, who values reliability above all else, begins to feel abandoned. Yet, this pairing holds immense creative potential when properly managed. Gemini's adaptability can pull Cancer out of emotional stagnation, encouraging them to experiment, take chances, and embrace flexibility. In turn, Cancer's emotional steadiness provides Gemini with a safe harbor, a place to land when their constant motion becomes exhausting. Together, they can create brands that are both innovative and emotionally grounded, provided they set boundaries and clearly define their roles. The secret to their success lies in communication. Cancer must learn not to personalize Gemini's unpredictability. It's not rejection, it's just their nature to explore. Gemini, on the other hand, must understand that loyalty is not limitation. When Gemini learns to stay anchored without feeling trapped, and Cancer learns to breathe without holding too tightly, they create a rhythm that alternates between flow and structure, like jazz, free but harmonious. These challenging partnerships, with Aries, Aquarius, and Gemini, serve as powerful mirrors for Cancer's growth. Aries forces Cancer to confront fear and embrace courage. Aquarius challenges them to separate emotion from ego and to see that not everyone processes connection the same way. Gemini teaches them that security can exist even amidst change, that flexibility doesn't mean instability. None of these pairings are doomed. They are lessons disguised as friction. Each one pushes Cancer out of emotional comfort zones and into new dimensions of strength. Aries teaches boldness, Aquarius teaches detachment with wisdom, and Gemini teaches adaptability with heart. Together, these experiences sculpt Cancer into a more balanced leader, one who can blend feeling with action, empathy with intellect, and security with spontaneity. For Cancer, the challenge is never about avoiding conflict but about learning through it. Their emotional depth can soften even the hardest personalities and humanize even the most cerebral minds. Their compassion is their power, a quiet force that reminds every partner, even the fiery Aries or the detached Aquarius, that business at its core isn't just about profit or progress. It's about people. And that's the paradox Cancer understands better than anyone. Even in the roughest business tides, when tempers clash and logic overshadows empathy, the heart, steady, strong, and unwavering, remains the greatest currency of all. The emotional legacy, when business becomes family. For Cancer, success has never been a scoreboard of numbers, net worth, or applause. It's a living, breathing legacy, something that grows in the hearts of the people they've touched long after the lights go out and the offices close. They measure their achievements not in profits but in people. To them, every employee, partner, or client is not just part of a business structure, they're part of an emotional ecosystem. Cancer's gift is their ability to turn commerce into connection, ambition into care, and leadership into love. In the Cancerian vision of success, a business isn't an empire to rule but a family to nurture. They're the ones who remember the janitor's birthday, who stop by a colleague's desk just to ask how their child's first day of school went, who quietly pay for an employee's medical bill without announcing it. These are not grand gestures for publicity, they're instinctual acts of compassion. For Cancer, empathy is not a leadership tactic, it's their natural language. They lead not from the head or the wallet, but from the heart. In their companies, the atmosphere often feels different, softer, warmer, more human. Employees don't clock in with dread, they arrive with a sense of belonging. There's laughter during meetings, understanding during hardships, and genuine support when life spills into work. Cancer creates workplaces that feel emotionally sustainable, where loyalty isn't demanded but given freely because people feel seen, respected, and valued. This emotional culture doesn't just boost morale, it builds resilience. Teams under Cancer leadership rarely fracture because they operate like families, imperfect, emotional, but united by shared care. This approach may seem sentimental in the hard-edged world of business, but it's quietly revolutionary. Cancer leaders prove that kindness doesn't dilute effectiveness, it enhances it. Their empathy fosters trust, and trust drives performance. Employees who feel emotionally safe innovate more, stay longer, and work harder because they're not just fulfilling a job, they're contributing to something that feels personal. Cancer knows this intuitively. When people feel cared for, they care back. And this caring doesn't end within office walls. Cancer's influence naturally extends into the community. Their philanthropic efforts often mirror their emotional values. They're drawn to causes that heal, nurture, and shelter. Family support programs, child advocacy, mental health awareness, housing initiatives, these are the arenas where Cancer shines brightest. They understand that stability begins at home, and home can mean anything from a family unit to a safe workplace to a community network. They invest their time, resources, and hearts into creating environments where people can feel at home in the world again. Even their approach to business growth reflects this philosophy. Cancer entrepreneurs are less interested in scaling for ego and more in scaling for impact. They prefer depth over breadth, fewer projects done with soul rather than many done mechanically. They mentor, they guide, they listen. They're often the quiet ones at conferences, observing and absorbing rather than competing for attention. But when they speak, people listen, because every word comes from authenticity, from a lived understanding that business without empathy is hollow. Cancer's emotional legacy also manifests in the brands they build. Whether it's a small local bakery or a global wellness company, there's always a thread of emotional storytelling woven through their work. Their marketing doesn't manipulate, it connects. Their products don't just fulfill needs, they fulfill feelings. Customers sense the sincerity behind their missions. When a cancer says, "We care," it's not branding, it's truth. That's why their customers often stay loyal for years, not out of habit but out of genuine emotional attachment. This emotional depth, however, comes with its own trials. Cancer leaders often struggle with boundaries. They give endlessly, sometimes to their own exhaustion. They can blur the line between business and personal life, absorbing the emotional weight of everyone around them. They worry about their teams late at night, agonize over letting people go, and carry guilt for decisions that hurt others, even when necessary. Their compassion, while powerful, can become a burden when not balanced with self-care. But with maturity, they learn that caring doesn't mean carrying, that nurturing others must include nurturing themselves. The legacy cancer leaves behind in business isn't flashy or loud. It's subtle, steady, and deeply felt. When people talk about working with a cancer leader, they don't just mention achievements, they talk about how it felt. They remember the sense of safety, the mentorship, the laughter shared during hard times. They recall how their cancer boss saw potential in them before they saw it themselves. Cancer's influence lingers in hearts, not headlines. Even after retirement or death, their spirit echoes through the culture they built. Their businesses continue to operate like extended families, employees support one another, traditions endure, and the original ethos of compassion remains intact. Cancer's emotional fingerprints are indelible. They've created not just companies but communities that outlast them, proving that the softest touch can leave the strongest mark. Philanthropically, cancer often transforms their personal empathy into organized care. They found charities, fund scholarships, or build programs that nurture families, children, and mental wellness. For them, giving back isn't a marketing campaign, it's an extension of their soul. Their generosity is deeply personal, a reflection of gratitude for the people who once supported them. In their later years, many cancers view philanthropy as their second act, a way to keep nurturing the world even after stepping away from daily operations. Emotionally, their leadership changes the people they encounter. Colleagues who've worked under a cancer often emerge with a new understanding of what leadership can be, not hierarchical, not transactional, but human. They carry forward cancer's lessons into their own businesses, creating ripple effects of kindness across industries. This is how cancer changes the world, not through revolutions, but through gentle, lasting influence. Their greatest legacy, however, is proving that emotional intelligence is not a weakness but a strength, one of the most profitable, sustainable forces in modern commerce. They embody the idea that empathy is strategy. In an era obsessed with automation, speed, and data, cancer reminds everyone that the heart is still the most powerful engine of connection. They show that caring for people isn't naive, it's visionary. Because when people feel emotionally invested, everything, from creativity to loyalty to success, grows exponentially. Cancer's business philosophy could be summed up as, "We rise by making others feel safe to rise." Their impact radiates through the people they uplift, the communities they heal, and the legacies they leave behind. They redefine success to include emotional wellness, dignity, and purpose. In a world that too often confuses hardness with strength, cancer stands as living proof that softness can move mountains. And so, when the final chapter of their professional life closes, cancer doesn't leave behind an empire of cold assets. They leave behind a constellation of hearts forever changed. Their business becomes a home that continues to breathe long after they're gone. Their name is remembered not just for what they built, but for how they built it, with compassion, integrity, and an unshakable belief that when you treat business like family, you don't just create success. You create belonging. In the end, a cancer in business is a paradox, both soft and strong, nurturing and ambitious, emotional and strategic. They may not roar like a Leo or push like a Capricorn, but they build empires through loyalty, heart, and intuition. And perhaps that's the quietest, yet most enduring, power of all.